I know.
Supposedly there was one northeast of Colby, or was that the same one? Selden's more towards Hoxie, wasn't it? Between Hoxie and Logan?
It's on the...
It's on that angled road going from Colby toward Norton.
It could have been the same one. Same street.
I don't know.
Okay, I think we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Everybody have a chance to read the minutes of the last meeting.
I just had one typo correction.
Okay, any other corrections?
She already told me what it was.
Okay. So do I hear a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting?
So moved.
Moved by Larry.
I wasn't here, so I don't know.
I wasn't either. I was waiting for somebody to start.
Second or?
Moved by Larry, second by Dara. All in favor? Approved. Consent agenda. We do not have anything, do we?
No, sorry about that.
Nope. Okay. Okay. Are you here, Elmer, for anything, or just?
No, I'm just an observer.
Okay. Did you just come in to observe again?
I just
or?
have a quick question for Larry on that update with my husband.
Oh.
With the golf cart going down to the Riverwalk. I don't know if you discussed that.
I was made aware of it. I've been on vacation. We'll dig into that. I'll touch base with the Keller Pond Committee and see what we can do. We'll discuss it more with like Jared, City Superintendent.
I did touch base with Eric with the Sheriff Department.
Eric.
And because Sheriff's out of town. So he called me back about possibly getting an update on all the complaints that were called in on the Riverwalk for the damage at Keller Pond and the Riverwalk, because I guess that's why the posts were installed and the fence, because of riffraff. So he's going to look into it to see.
You talk about Eric Harper?
I don't know his last name.
That's what it has to
He
be?
just, Harper?
Yes.
Good to know. I didn't even ask him his last name. Anyway, so he's going to look into it to see how many complaints and that type of thing were made. And then I don't know if I can get a copy of the lease for the Riverwalk.
Yeah, that's public record.
Right, so that's what I thought. That's why I asked him real quick, but
We have that, and you'd have to fill out an open records request.
yes,
and
I was going to come see you.
And I doubt if they've got too many complaints because they happen when nobody's around.
Our primary goal with that is to keep pickups out, to keep ATVs out. We've had some people actually drive up in there and come in Keller Pond and drive all the way over the Riverwalk Trail. We've had people come in the backside with ATVs and stuff, and ATVs aren't real friendly to that trail.
Right.
And we've had people on with motorcycles at different times. So our goal is just to keep large equipment out of there unless we need access for maintenance purposes.
Mm-hmm.
And Lila had sent me an email while I was gone, and we will look into that.
Yeah.
We'll see what we can work out on that.
Right, that would be great, because like I said, he has COPD, and he's
Sure.
had several incidences, and he's can't walk too well right now, so that was always a good thing. And he did get out to pick up trash.
Sure.
So,
Well, we appreciate that.
yeah,
Yeah.
so, okay.
We'll definitely address that.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
What is your name, ma'am?
I am Christine Anderson. My husband is James Thornton.
I've seen it in the minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, well, let's move on to new business. I guess she's not here to do the audit yet? or is she?
We're doing it via
Oh, we're doing
Zoom.
it over the phone, okay. Okay.
And everybody should have all the audit report on the share. Mayor, you have a hard copy there. And I think there's one page that you'll have to sign.
This is Danielle we're calling?
Yes.
Okay.
Welcome to Zoom. Enter your meeting ID followed by pound. Enter your participant ID followed by pound. Otherwise, just press pound to continue. You are in the meeting now. There are 2 participants in the meeting. You are muted. You can mute or unmute yourself by pressing *6. You are unmuted.
Hello?
They can't hear you?
Hello?
Hi, we're here.
Okay, perfect.
You ready for us?
We are ready for you.
All right. I am Danielle Onstead. I'm a principal out in our Craven office, and I'm also our governmental industry leader. So I am going to go through the audit report pretty quickly, but if you have any questions, just stop me as we go, and I will try to explain it further. So I'll start with the bound copy that hopefully you all have in front of you. And I'm going to go to pages 1, 2, and 3, which is our independent auditor's report. And on page 2 is where we actually issue our opinion. And the second paragraph down, we are giving an adverse opinion on GAAP. And that is because every year the city waives GAAP and instead follows the regulatory basis of accounting, which is KMAG. So the third paragraph down, we are giving an unmodified opinion on regulatory basis, which is the highest opinion you can receive. It basically states that we believe the financial statements are being presented fairly in all material respects. So then if you
Hold
turn
on
to
a
page
second.
4,
Hold on 1 second.
Does everybody see where she's at in the financial statement? Okay, I just want to make sure everybody knew where she was at. Okay.
Okay, we're good to go.
okay. And then if you turn to page 4, this is the financial statement that we are issuing our opinion on. It is a collective pool of all of your funds together. And at the end of the year, the city had an ending unencumbered cash balance of about $2.2 million. And including the PDC, it had an ending cash balance of $2.4 million. And this is an increase of about $1.6 million over the prior year. And as you look at the funds, you can kind of see where most of the cash is obviously in your street bond project because you got the proceeds, but you have not spent them yet. You also had the new sales tax increase. And so that is showing in your infrastructure improvement fund as well as your bond and interest fund. And again, those sales tax proceeds have not been spent. So you had a higher receipt this year for that. Any questions on that statement?
I don't think so.
Is everybody okay?
Okay. The next several pages are the footnotes to the financial statements, and it goes over the accounting policies that the city follows and how we put the financial statements together. KMAG did not have any significant changes over the prior year. So what you've seen last year is going to be very similar to what you've seen this year. So I'm not going to go through all of the footnotes, but I do want to point out just a couple new ones. If you turn
Anybody have anything?
No questions.
I think we're good.
Okay, then the only other two things I want to go over real quickly is you should have two letters that were tucked into the report. And I will start with the management letter. As well as doing the audit of the financial statements, we also look at internal controls. And the two letters, we basically, the management letter is items that are more significant, things that can materially impact the financial statement. The only item we have noted here is segregation of duties, and I'm sure you have been spoke to about this in the past. Just due to the size of the city as well as funding, it just isn't possible for the city to truly have segregation of duties. So this one comment will probably always be in there. But it's really important to make sure that the council realizes this, and that anywhere there's possible that they can help be involved, to keep doing that, because of the size, it's just important that the council stays involved. And then the next letter is the governance letter, and this is just to go over and let council and management know that we didn't have any significant audit findings, we didn't have any disagreements with management, or any concerns or other matters that needed to be brought up to you guys. We want to thank the city for getting us the information. They did a great job of responding to our questions and helping assist with information we needed. We only had a couple recommendations at the bottom of page 2, and both of these were on there last year as well. The first one is just implementing a formal accounts receivable policy for outstanding utility receivables, to clean up that listing, and then to review outstanding checks over 1 year and make sure to get those reissued or voided. Not significant findings, just recommendations that we always have. So, any questions with either of those?
As far as the letter that she needs from me as to whether or not the city is involved in litigation, do I need to wait for a request from her? Because what I'd like to do is put it on my year-end wrap-up so that I can just get it out in January when we kind of do the rest of it. Would that be agreeable?
She probably doesn't.
I can answer that. So, for our audit report, we cannot issue our audit without having the legal letter within 2 weeks of the audit.
Okay.
So, you can issue it in January, but then we would just have to call you as we get closer to delivering the audit to make sure nothing has changed.
Okay.
Any other questions for us? I know that was fast.
Well, it looks like we're pretty well about the same as we always have. We always know we're going to be wrote up for that one thing because of only having 2 people in the office. We know that's always happening, so, but we've never seemed to have any problems with that, and hopefully there will never be any problems of that kind. So I don't see any questions. Do any of the rest of you have any questions?
Nope.
Okay, I think we're good.
All right. Well, if you do, Mylan, you know how to contact me, and I'd be happy to answer any further questions for you.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you. Have a good
Thank
evening.
you.
Thank you. You too. Bye.
Bye.
I would like to ask for a motion to approve the audit report.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the auditor report?
So moved.
Moved by Amanda, second by David. All in favor? Approved. Okay.
Marla, can I ask one question?
Sure.
The one recommendation she made about the policy for outstanding utility receivables,
Yeah.
is that a unique thing because of what we went through with COVID?
No. This is something they've recommended, quite honestly, for several years, and we just haven't implemented one. And
Okay.
if it's something the council wants us to pursue, we will see what we can find. We don't use like a collection agency or anything on our accounts that are outstanding, and we could do that. It's an option. There's companies out there that provide that service. I don't think it's terribly significant, but I don't have those numbers in front of me to share, but I can.
What about the bond issue with the electric work? Is that something easily for this?
I think you've already talked to Ward on that, haven't you?
I have not.
You have not.
If
It's just a matter of having it. This established for
I
the
just
work, and
thought,
we'll
well, we
have
already
it for
have
this
them
year.
scheduled to come, that,
Yeah, right.
make sure we don't forget.
Right. I didn't even know that
And
was
with the street
needed.
project coming up.
And that will all be because that's, so right, and I'm sure that will be in place. That, I mean, that's over $1 million still. That
Yeah.
we bonded.
Okay, well, let's move on to the next item here. Karen, you're up.
Hello.
Hi.
Um, Okay, so Lions Club is going to try to revive bingo yet again. Hopefully it'll stick this time. At the Scout Hut, there are about 25 to 30 metal folding chairs that are in the attic now that are not being used. And I came here to ask you all if Lions Club may have them for bingo so we can have enough seating for everybody.
We replaced all this with those plastic chairs that are down there when we did the renovation on the building. All the plastic tables and then the lighter white plastic chairs. So there's no, obviously they've been stored. There's no real use for them that I can think of.
Yeah, and if they've just been up there in the upper storage, that's not doing any good. So I guess if everybody agrees to let them go ahead and use those chairs, and is there some tables too?
I don't think there was there.
I don't think there is
too
either.
No,
bulky.
there is
Just
not.
chairs?
Just chairs, yeah.
Just to confirm, this is, when you say have, you mean use, not own, correct?
Right.
Well, the Lions Club, I'm asking for possession of them, like, so we don't have to haul them back and forth.
Right, but if the city were to need them, then the city could say that they needed to be returned to the city. If the city was.
If that's okay, if that's what you guys want to do. Because our biggest concern is hauling them back and forth.
Right,
But I don't
guess-
think that'd be a problem. It's just a matter
Yeah.
that if for some reason we'd have something come up,
Right.
that we'd
If
have
there
to
was a
say, we
special
gotta come and get
event.
the
Yeah,
chairs.
yeah.
Are they marked?
I don't think they are, but I don't know.
A lot of those came from the high school that gave them to the city, and there was the Vets Club. There was two different resources that left a whole bunch of chairs to the city.
Well, most of those American Legion chairs have been scattered all over the country.
Exactly, but we had a bunch of those as well.
Yeah, those are the old metal ones. And we just can't hardly find them. There's a few broken ones back here, but that's basically it. So I guess, is there a way that we could write city on those somehow?
Oh, yeah.
Well, honestly, when I talked to Lila about it, nobody even knew they existed.
Yeah,
So, I mean, you guys have had events and not even known they were there.
yeah. So I guess, is it the consensus of everybody to, or I guess somebody want to make a motion that we allow them to use the chairs? The city will still own ownership of them, but we'll just allow them to use them.
Second.
Moved by Dara, second by Larry, all in favor? It's approved.
Thank you.
Yep.
Where are you guys having bingo?
We rented the old End Balance building right next to Diamond Bar. And we're shooting for July to start. We just needed chairs. But now we got them. They're good. So I thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next item is the EMS building agreement review.
If you look at it, it has a clause in there that it automatically renews every year if there's no back and forth, but it's more of a formality than anything else. And so I just updated it with the dates, and nothing else has changed other than the dates. And the council approves it, the mayor can sign it, and I can get it to the commissioners.
If it renews automatically, why are we having it signed every year?
Formality, because it expires. It says it expires. It's just like the sheriff's agreement.
Right, but if it automatically renews, then it should not need to be done every year. I mean, it provides for what the termination date would be in the event of a termination, but if it automatically renews, I don't know that it's necessary to sign it every year.
Well, my only thing with that is if you look at it, hold on, let me pull it up here. It says,
does say it terminates on the 31st
Right.
day of May.
So the current agreement, it says in there, in the number 1, that it terminates the end of May 2021. So if we haven't, I understand that it doesn't have to be done, but if that's the one that we have signed, then it says it's terminated.
And then it continues. The
I
term
don't-
of this agreement shall automatically renew for an additional 1-year term at the expiration of any current term unless either party. This is giving the duration of the lease and with an automatic renewal clause. It doesn't mean that it automatically terminates because an automatic renewal is provided therefor. It's just giving the period of which the lease runs. Because it's 1-year term, it's giving the dates from June to May rather than from January through December. I mean, I guess I have no objection to signing it, I just think it's unnecessary.
Well,
So,
okay, I'm confused about, hold on a second here.
Is it done that way because it involves both the city and the county?
Well, possibly, but
It gives us a chance to review it, and just in case there are any changes.
and that's why we've always done that every year, is reviewed it, looked at it,
It's one of those things that
and it doesn't take
renews
any,
every year, and then you forget about it, and then all of a sudden it's terminated, and you know.
and you haven't looked at it.
But
Well, and just to
So-
review the terms as you change with council members and everything, just to understand
Right.
what the meaning of it is. You
Yeah,
have to
'cause a lot
review
of-
it, you
Yeah.
might as well
Right.
sign it.
new council members would not
to know
know
what it
what
is,
this
right.
is.
Exactly.
So do I hear a motion to approve the lease agreement with the county on the EMS building? Moved by Amanda, second by Darrell, all in favor, approved. Okay, then we have the Alumni Association Special Event Permit.
And they have brought in the proof of their liability insurance. Of course, when it gets closer, we'll just make sure it's still in place. And city's listed as an additional insured. They have the liquor liability addendum. That all looks good, and they paid. And I went ahead for the mayor and created the resolution, which he has over there, to allow Riverside Recreation to sell alcoholic beverages on the premises of Sawhill Park.
Okay, do I hear a motion to approve the special event permit?
So moved.
Moved by Larry,
Second.
second by Amanda, all in favor? Approved. Okay, we'll go to old business, property cleanup. Anything there?
Amanda and I discussed another one that it had been on there, and then it was going to go up for tax sale. They had been paid the taxes, but it's that McCoy property over on Jackson Street. I was going to get some pictures on it, but since it was this close to the council, I was going to mention it. It's obviously in need of...
Which one, on Jackson Street?
Jackson?
What
Yeah.
about the one up on, what street's that? Second Street. I'd say both of them.
His other property, you mean? Or which one are you talking on second? I'm not sure.
Right next to Guth Miller's. Isn't his name on that one too?
I don't know.
He's tied into it.
He's tied
Buying
into-
it from Nicole Meyer, but I don't know that he ever fully, I don't think it's in, it might be in his name since the tax sale, 'cause it was up on the tax sale too.
If you was to put that in perspective, not to say that one's not in bad shape, but the actual surrounding properties on Jackson, how much it sticks out. I mean, I'm aware that we've had issues with that one, but I guess, what is it specific? I need to look at it, I guess.
Go ask the neighbors up there.
Okay. Let me look at that one.
Yeah, look at it.
And we can move forward with it as well, but Jackson is a definite. I mean,
They
there's
haven't
a
said
hole in the
anything
roof.
lately, but I'm sure they're not happy either up there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jackson has a hole in the roof, those windows are busted out.
Yeah, that one's bad. I agree that it's really bad, but this other one is,
Okay. I'll look at it as well.
where we get with it, it's going to be.
But the council is okay with us going and sending the, okay. McCormick, I'll get you pictures.
Sounds good. I have the pictures of the letter to go. It should be served later on this week. I spoke with Sheriff Beeson about it on the recurring issue down at Lampe Auto, and Sheriff Beeson is going to personally serve it. We're going to have Cody actually do it rather than a deputy, as Cody has been involved in multiple times of warning him, and it's just going to kind of be this is your final warning. So I spoke with Cody on that today. I wanted to bring up, I don't know what it is, 120 possibly West Emerson, 2 houses down from mine that was up for a tax sale, abandoned house between the trailer on the corner and the
That's the
what,
other one, that we was looking
property.
at. Is that right, that's you, no?
It's been,
in the on and off the cleanup list for
Right, but my understanding is the taxes have been made current on that one.
it was purchased by Pasquale Tamburino, who has purchased several other properties in the county, is my understanding, but the weeds or the lawn or whatever you want to call it is more than a foot high. Some of them are
Which
almost
is actually a separate issue, but that
Right.
property also is
it's
dilapidated.
entirely dilapidated and possibly unsafe.
because we held off on that one that was on the tax.
That's
So
right.
we're going to get.
And he came in and was planning. I mean, he has done some things to it. I think he was in several months of the first tax sale, and so we were seeing progress, and so I didn't bring anything up. But I don't know that he has been back to it in over a year. So, it is, I mean, weeds aside, 1, the yard is overgrown. 2, I'm not sure that the property is safe.
What's that address?
It's 2 down from mine, so I'm 108. I think the one next to me is I think goes up by 6, so I think 114, then I think 120. There's a blue modular on the corner, and it's just to the east of it. And the weeds in the back are starting to overtake the meter, and as someone who drives down that alley, it's moderately concerning that we might run into it.
Okay. Well, let's move on to projects pending. I had a phone call the other day with Greg Kite, wondering if we was going to move forward with anything over at Salt Hill Park. Like the seating area and fountain or the inside. He's probably only going to be, and he'll do all the legwork as far as the grant writing and everything again and so forth, but he's probably going to retire here.
Are we going to be tied into outside contractors?
No, not necessarily. We just need more bids, he said, and we just got to find the right bids to put things kind of back like they would have been, as close as possible.
You're talking about the seating area.
I told Greg, I said, because he would like to see the inside of that bench hill done. I would too. But we got more, we need the outside all improved first.
I would say if we have the understanding, because the budget problem was the last time, it was so astronomically high for the work that we did that we trimmed it way back. And what we actually realized was the cost by the time you go through the process, the administration was just really high. So we could always go through the process, see if it's any different as far as local contractors, because that was an issue that time. They literally had a list of contractors that was, able to bid these things at that time, and I don't even know where they come from. But the quality was not there, and the price was extremely high. So we could always apply for it and say, this looks like the last time, and not do it. Because, we do have that seed money that was left to the city for the band
And I don't want to see that go to waste.
and I think that was kind of the feeling on that project.
Do we have to use the people we use because of how it's designated?
So there was only, at that time, there was only certain people who could work on, I guess it's federally funded, it's through the state with these actual funds, and the contractor had to do some kind of certification to be on this list. And the closest ones to us were, I think, Hayes or something. It was just kind of strange how it turned out. Apparently, that's changed now as far as qualified contractors, but I don't know to what extent. That being said, the thing needs attention. It's an avenue. I mean, it can be turned down. That would be the case. I would suggest we go ahead. just because Greg is there and willing to do that work.
And Greg's gonna be out here for alumni, so he said he'd even make a trip out anytime. And I said, well, we're close enough to alumni, why don't you just do it, come a day earlier or something, and we can go look at it and stuff, so he knows what we're talking about and so forth. And then he said, and he would maybe try to start looking at, because I said, on the seating area, I said, that stuff was shot on 20 years ago, about the time I came on here, shot onto those seats. And it did make it look better. But it also presented a problem. Because now that it's coming off and it's cracking, now we got a worse problem than ever.
With trap moisture and mesh, that metal.
It should have been a smooth surface so the water would run off easier instead of trapping it. So I told him, I said, we've got to get that material off there so that to even see what we have underneath. Some areas will be fine. Some areas are going to be a problem.
So is he looking at grant funding behind this?
Yeah. We can get 80-20 grant funding, and we got clear till November to have this ready to go. So we got some time, but we need to probably get started on it.
So what's the chances of getting another quote on sandblasting or whatever?
Well, now see, that all goes through the bidding process that he will do. That's where it runs into if this person gives the price, whether they would be able to bid it or not, I don't know. We were just seeking a solution because on a historical property, as long as you're not adding to it and going back to something that was original, which was what we was kind of planning on doing, to some extent you can do that. Now, Greg kind of frowned on it, and we talked about that, but I think that was more the concern of the itemizing the work and pricing it, plus there's funding available for that, and I think that's why we're going to probably get angled down this road at a later date. If we was to turn that down due to cost or some other concern, we can do that. We can go back and take it back to original by whatever means the city would normally go through for a contract. You just have to be careful you don't get into a situation like the courthouse did where they spent $30,000 or $20,000 to get the steps redone and then $100,000 to fix it right. That's what you can run into on a historical property. So
To be clear, this does not include the fountain or the...
it does include it.
Yeah, we're going to try to include the fountain with it.
And okay, so wait a minute. The historical significance is the fountain is included. I don't know that we're trying to get that in with the seating.
Right.
Well, I don't know.
I mean,
I think the seating's included with the bench, Joe.
It is, and so is the. I think what I was trying to clarify is that it's part of the historical part. But the project we're trying to get done is the seating.
Initially.
The seating and possibly the fountain.
Sure. I
If
guess
it
it
works,
could be included.
but we don't know. I mean, like we're saying, we might go, this is too much. We can only do the seating now, and then the fountain's down the road again.
Because they'll only fund it if it goes back to original. If you look at the way that fountain was originally set up, see, we can take it back to a step. If they do it, it goes back to the original construction. The fountain could easily be a $100,000 deal. If you look at the colored concrete, the surrounding area, it would include all of that to do that. I mean, it really can
All that
blow your
layering
own
around
water
and
and
everything.
It'll be, it's not correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't we at one time, way back when I first came on the board, we at one time talked about maybe covering for that seating area? I think it's...
So
Oh,
it's
the
gonna
sail shades over.
For the shade.
Yeah, that's on this
Yes.
pending stuff too, but, I mean, it'd be nice to have some kind of shade over that eventually too.
I think if you get the seating and some of the other things, then that's easier to justify doing that. But you get into a $100,000 shade on a seating you don't want to set on, it doesn't look real good.
Right, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's unrealistic at this point.
So if everybody's good with moving forward with it, I'll let Greg know to come out like a day early or something, and maybe we'll see if we can meet, in the evening or something like that for a while and just look it over and stuff at that time, and then he'll see what we're trying to get at and go from there. And he said he'd do some research on, once he sees a little bit more on figuring out how to put something together.
Remind me also to talk to you about what we're gonna do on the inside of the band shell temporarily
Okay.
on the floor.
Anything else on projects pending?
I reached out to, I had not heard from Jeter Law Firm last week, like I had asked for an update on her around the 17th. I had not heard from him. I've reached out. I have not heard back. So as far as the access road goes, it's on my radar, trying to follow up. Haven't heard back from him. I'm hoping I will hear back from him sometime this week, and I will be able to update at the next meeting.
It's not on the project pending list, but the old pool property, I did meet with Dave Fleming. We discussed some things, but I haven't been able to get back with him since I've been gone. He's got some ideas on what we might be able to do down there. It's just a question of what we're looking at doing, I think. I think Dave and J.R. and I are probably going to get together at some point and just see how deep we want to get into this, whether or not we want to get into that. Dave doesn't seem to be that big of a deal.
Yeah, I would have never thought to break a side out and expand it. I mean, that's,
What Dave's talking about doing is possibly breaking out the north side and expanding it so you could actually put the sand volleyball court in there. Because right now the deep end's too shallow, or not wide enough, which would involve taking the fence out, taking some of the grass out, taking some of the concrete out. But you'd have the fence there, which is one of the things we'd be after anyway. You've got lighting if you needed it. There's still water access down there if you needed it. So I do think it's a good potential project, and then we can get rid of that pump house, clean it up, and then maybe at some point get some grant funds to maybe tie it into a little park. So that's kind of a couple of things we're looking at. But I need to get with Dave a little more on what he's actually thinking and what kind of money we might be up against, whether we have to grant fund it or whether it's, I just don't know at this point.
Does it look like structurally it's doable?
I don't understand enough of that to be able to answer that. I mean, Dave seems to think we go in and knock some of that concrete out, and we'd have a place to go with it.
Right.
And then I'm not sure what we'd have to do to tie it all back together. But, and then you're basically just talking about filling it in, putting probably 8 to 12 inches of sand on top.
would you keep that deck?
But you could keep I think you could keep the deck, except for the north side.
Unless you put it back. If
You'd
it's
have,
worth it,
well,
yeah.
you might have to do something to retain
But
it.
it's big enough to have, that would be a buffer zone big enough for them to fall in.
Oh, yeah.
I see.
The shallow end's wide enough, no
I see.
doubt. But the deep end, because it goes like this, and then because we had looked at going east and west, and we could go east and west if it would do like Dave's talking about. Otherwise, you'd have to try to go north and south, and you're talking about taking the fence out, and it just wouldn't work.
Right.
So, I'll let you know as soon as I have a chance to get back with Dave and see if we can come up with any more ideas.
Okay, anything else on projects pending? Okay, well, let's move on to the street project.
The only thing we've got as far as getting started is I talked to Casey McCormick with the McCormick, not Stacy with McCormick excavation, and they want to start in June on some of the concrete work, which it's obvious you have to get a lot of the work done on the sides in order to put the asphalt in, so that was no surprise. I told them, obviously, as long as everything's in place, no reason not to.
You don't have any conflict with Ward or anything?
No, Ward's going to be in July or August. They're going to be on the back side of them, and looking at where our work areas are, I think we can overlap anyway, to some degree.
I think we need to, and maybe you'll have to do it, or if you can catch them, is get something in the paper to let people know where we're at with this project, because there's starting to be rumors going around town that are we ever going to do anything? Yeah.
I've been getting questions or
Yeah.
comments made to me for the
Yeah.
last
Being
month.
asked for a
or
while.
And it's really, they thought we should have been started already. They thought we should have been last year, which we was hoping it was going to be last year, but the COVID fouled it up. And some of them say, oh, COVID should have never fouled it up. Well, it did. But anyway, I wonder if we should just get something in the paper of, now that we know that they're going to come in, start doing some of the curb and gutter work and stuff in June and start streets first part of July, so at least they know.
Would it be appropriate to post that first picture? That's in it's on our stuff tonight. Street improvements, change it to 2021. It's got all the streets highlighted on where we're actually doing the work.
I think that has been,
Has been
but
Really?
it's probably a good idea, because, yeah, exactly, you just get chatter going and.
Well, we know what's gonna happen is, the person that's complaining the most, they're gonna say, well, oh, they're not doing my street. No, we never planned on doing that street.
Exactly. You know, Scott had actually a good question that came up, and it's just due to time, that these are coming up, because it's been so much time, but the city's basically take on the trees was that we was going to cover the cost of that. So there's still tree stumps out there. Some of these snake up into the yard. They're going to take driveway. There's going to be problems with that. And when we said we did the cost of the trees, I had always told them any associated removal of this will be included in that. And some of those, you know, that should have been bid in work for the contractor. So that should be included with what they're doing as far as the removal of those. But the trees, the cost of those, you follow what I'm saying? I mean, we agreed that the trees would be removed. If it does anything beyond just the removal, that's probably going to be on the city, because that's what we agreed to do.
Yeah, there's one tree that, I think that thing must be at least 8 feet around. If you took a tape measure around it, and it's right next to their drive. It's going to tear up some of their drive when they take that out. There's just no way that it'll come out of there to tear out the roots and get rid of it. So it's going to tear up some of their driveway. So,
With respect to the previous issue, though, worrying about, well, somebody, they say, well, I'll do that, we're going to start on my street, I'll do my street. When you put that in a paper, can't we just say this is phase one?
It is phase one. There's
That's what I'm saying, I know,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
can't we stress that, this is
Sure.
phase one?
Sure.
phase one, yeah.
Phase one, and give an estimated date on when.
Right.
And also, we're going to be tore up for a while. Because once they come in, I mean, at least now the guys coming in to do this, the curb and gutter and cement work, they're going to be tearing some stuff up. They won't be tearing out into the street, so that part will be good. But they might be tearing 2 or 3 feet out into the street to get done what they need, or a little bit further. Depends on where the trees are. They'll have to tear out quite a bit. But then, once they get done, then we know the contractor's coming in. He's going to tear up all the streets, all of them. Get them packed in, get them ready before he ever starts hauling asphalt. So we're going to have all those streets tore up.
And can, like, getting out to the grain,
They're going to have to go out and around.
well, yeah, I didn't know if we want to,
They won't go
Burn
down
some
Benton
way.
Street anymore,
Right.
not during July. But there's ways for them to get there.
And that's all part of the contract too, where it's stressed that they won't tear up a whole area where there's no access to any place. The greater issue in that instance is the people's access to their own home, where they'll just take a small amount of fill, when the street's gone, and give them access in and out of their yard until the period of time at which they're actually putting that in there. The traffic control and or keeping people being able to get somewhere is part of the contractor's obligation to do it in a manner that doesn't lock everything down. And we've discussed that. And it's also in the contract that they'll only have so many consecutive blocks in any area. So
On the note
there will be complaints, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Whether it's the work being done on their street or not, I mean, that's a given. But this is what they do, and this is how it works, and it will still be inconvenient.
On the
and
note of-
potholes on other streets,
I'm sorry?
and potholes on other streets,
Mm-hmm.
and people are gonna ask me,
Sure.
you know.
Weather. You gotta
I
have
know.
heat. And the water just
Water.
exaggerates them, yes.
I know.
Yeah, and we do have the material for them. It's a matter of doing it when it actually works.
Especially after last night, the way it came
So
down.
that might be in the paper too.
Of course. Yeah.
Is that something that you have the guys do it here and there, or do you take a 2-week period and work on
If
them?
it gets hot, that's all we do. When it's as bad as it is like right now, that's all we would do with that resources.
Does that include crossovers?
No.
That's a separate deal
That's
as far
a
as...
special deal that we sneak up there and try to throw it in to make it safe because it's not our property.
We hope it's not our property. We hope like heck
It is
it's not
not
our
our
property.
property, that's where we stand.
Circling back to the street project, I've gone through all of the documents. You'll see that there's 3 addendums which are emailed to me. Lila has put them on the shared. One of them is 209 pages. I've gone through them and the contract, and I have no issue with it. I had follow-up for Miller and Associates, and I was getting ready to make my calls with them, and I had my sticky notes on it and flagged, and I was going back and forth to make sure I didn't sound like a bumbling idiot, flipping back and forth, and I realized that there was something somewhere else that explained what I needed clarification on, and so that's why I do that and flag it, and so I have no objections to the contract, and think advise us to sign it. There's 6 of them.
Yeah, do you want to do that now?
I was going to say, well, there's a resolution to be signed, and then there's that lease, and then I don't know if we want to sign it at the end, if Scott wants to just sign everything all at once.
Yeah.
I can stay, so, because I know I need to sign that, so I need to notarize the lease, so.
Okay.
We can just, I mean, I guess if that's agreeable too. If that's agreeable, I don't know that there needs to be, we've approved the project, I don't know if we need to approve the contract. I don't know that we need a motion on that.
Okay, well, let's move on to
That's
pool
in
report.
there, we can do.
What's that?
Approval of the contract.
That's subject to review
Oh.
for the Miller and Associates.
She's asking whether or not we need to have a motion to
We
approve.
can't.
Based on her recommendation,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah,
we
so,
will. And then it can be signed.
I'll move to approve.
Well, we're going to do it afterwards.
Well,
I'm sorry.
Or I guess we can do it now.
go ahead and approve it, and then we can take care of signing it.
Yeah, we
later.
can sign it later, so, okay.
I'll second.
I'll move.
It's been moved by Larry, second by Amanda, all in favor? Okay, it's approved. Okay, now we'll move on to pool report.
Ms. Kelly?
Hi, I didn't know if I would need to be here, so I just came just in case. But we are opening on Saturday, which I do recognize is later than you all wanted.
It actually turned out to be a good day.
But it's all worked out. We did get the certifications, all came through actually today. So all of the guards are certified. We are having swim team practice every morning this week. They started doing that, and we've been down there cleaning, and we had a couple, well, when the power went out last night, we had that, but everything seems to be good today. Chemicals all seem balanced, and everything seems to be working okay. I'm vacuuming it to try to get rid of some of the dirt that keeps flowing from every storm we have every day.
Last night.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, we've been down there cleaning and getting stuff ready, and we'll have the hours are the same as they were last year. So Mondays and Tuesdays will be 1 to 5 for open swim time. Well, Monday through Friday we will have 1 to 5 in the afternoons. Wednesdays and Fridays we'll also have it 7 to 9 in the evenings. Saturdays are 1 to 6, Sundays are 1 to 9. We will have laps every morning from 6 to 7. Swim team will be from 7:30 to 8:30. Lessons will be from 8:30 to 11:30. Swim team will be 11:30 to 12:30. We'll have aqua size Monday, Wednesday, Friday evenings from 5:30 to 6:30, and laps on Tuesday and Thursday evenings from 5:30 to 6:30. We will have the pool available for parties on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, of which I have 7 or 8 parties booked.
That's great. That's great.
Already. And we, well, as you all know, we have season passes, and we come up with a system for that. So
I don't know a copy of that.
I know. But I just got it figured out today, so I have not gotten it to you yet. But and what else? What else? We're excited.
We're still working on trying to figure out something to do on that east side, with that dirt area.
Oh, yeah.
I've talked to Rec Commission a little bit about maybe trying to help out with something like that. I don't know if we ever got a bid on that. To go in and put concrete in?
I don't think we did, and then we've got some access issues on that site where we're going to have to put in an access gate for maintenance and probably a ramp into that area. I realize that gets used for some other things, but I need to mention before we overplan that site, I've got access to those lights and or the heat for the equipment for cleanup that we used this year. That we need to work on making the access better.
Okay.
So we need to coordinate that in case it would involve that area.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. Can you make sure Mike goes down and sprays for sandbirds?
Sure.
So I know that's been an ongoing issue.
Yes.
I don't think they're too bad on the south side of the fence. Isn't most of that under control? Well, the school.
Well,
the school.
Sure.
yes, as long as they water and the buffalo grass. Then, yeah.
Any
But we
other-
have had, last year we did have a lot of sandbirds that came in, and they're not like the goat-head kind, but those other prickly ones. That blow in on that turf stuff that you can't see very well.
And they're coming from the north?
No, south.
Okay, so it's the school.
It's from the school, yeah. But last year, as they watered more, and the buffalo grass was coming up.
Yeah, we'll have to talk to them.
And
We
we
can't
have-
place chemicals on them.
No, I know that.
I know that there is some, I know that we do have some fencing stuff that
We talked about that.
has not, that's down there, but it's
Talked about
not,
doing that like the lower foot, if I remember right.
Yeah.
The slats.
Yeah.
yeah. But we did have a little bit there, but I do know that on that, like on the, I don't know that it's so much on the north side, but right outside so on the west side, there are sandbirds out there, and
They do detect them.
yes.
Well, and I just, this lot here, right next to City Hall, I know the sandbirds on it get pretty bad. I just wondered, kids going to and from school or the pool, if we could maybe get those under control a little bit more.
Anything else you can think of that we're going to need, or
Umbrellas,
umbrellas still? Jen and I've talked about that.
okay, for the tables.
Later, when y'all start filling that pool up, from starting to fill it up to the time it's filled, how long of a process is that?
20 minutes? No.
3 days.
Well, you laugh, but because my wife called me the day or day after it got filled up. She goes, "Hey, there's water in the pool." I said, "Yeah, I know. I watched them fill it up." She goes, "What do you mean you watched it fill it up?" I said, "They got this enormous pump that they had it filled up in an hour." She goes, "They did?" I said, "Yeah." Well, I just forgot about it. And the next day, she told me she told someone at work. I'm like, I was just kidding. And so if you hear that there's an enormous pump, it's me.
We
It
tried
takes
it
like
the first
almost
time. Now it's
3
just,
days.
3 days,
it's 3 days
About
to
3
get
days.
it filled, yeah.
And 1 hour.
Yeah. In 22 minutes.
Do you know how many umbrellas?
How many umbrellas? you talking about for the tables?
Yeah. We have 4 tables, and we have, I'm going to go with 2 that are probably, one I think is still completely intact. One I think is still usable, but for sure 2.
Okay, and we probably should have one extra. I mean,
I would say 2 or 3 if
Okay.
possible.
All right.
Just because if we don't get them pulled down and the wind all of a sudden, because that's what happened last year, is the wind all of a sudden came up and we tried to pull them down, but it had already, and it bends those things so you can't get it bent back.
Okay. There we go. And yeah, he had told me that. I just forgot to ask him when he needed to do it.
I don't really have anything else to address. She's done a
We
great
do
job.
have, there will be 3 swim meets.
Oh, good. I heard
The
2.
first one is on the 5th. And I think the other official one is on the July 10th. And then we'll do a fun meet, sometime.
Now, those are morning meets, right?
The one on the 5th, yes, for sure. The 10th, I'm not positive about how long that one will take.
Is that going to be a qualifying meet?
Yes.
That's a good deal.
So it may take out that day of swim time. I don't know. I need to verify. I did verify the 5th. Should not be an issue that we could open still in the afternoon. And on the 12th, we have a party in the morning and a party. So like a party right before we open and a party right after we close.
Okay.
Which is a Saturday. So.
Can we discuss that stuff now? Or
Yeah.
do we need to do it?
Yeah, now's a good time with any to just bring it up. And,
Have you talked to her about any of this?
well, she's the one that told me about the 2 topics.
You want me to tell you
Give
what
me,
it is?
give me your 2 cents. What we're going to be talking about is we've had some requests from Bird City on some
Shiloh
things.
Rec.
Shiloh, okay. On some things with the pool, and I'll let Kelly address it a little bit. She's one more familiar.
I'm going to guess, since I have not heard anything about it, and anything further, I guess, and since Amy's not here, that it probably is not anything to worry about or to even have to make any decisions about, but Bird City was unsure of whether they were going to open their pool or not. And so they were looking for ways to be able to still provide swim lessons, was the main thing. And Morgan Sherlock had approached me when I was in Bird City a couple weeks ago, asking about it, and wanted to know if Shiloh Rec could rent the pool. And I told her that we don't have, in the month of June, the only time we have available that is not spoken for most likely or that I could promise her would be Saturday and Sunday mornings and Monday nights. And that obviously is not ideal for swim lessons. But they were wanting to rent the pool to do that, and I suggested that they talk to Margaret and see if they could maybe, because she also is Red Cross certified, as is Margaret, if they could maybe team teach or come up with some method of doing that. And then I know that Bird City had I don't know if it was at their regular meeting or if they had a special meeting, but because they don't have guards, or they did not have guards, which also is an issue because 3 people cannot run the pool every day all summer long.
That was my understanding the end of April, is that they didn't have guards or a manager.
Well, and I think they have someone who's agreed to be a manager, and I think they do have a couple of guards, was the understanding that I got when I talked to Amy last week. But, so I had said, do you just, kind of randomly, I just threw out, do you want me to ask if any of our guards would be interested in going if you should open your pool? And she said if that would be a possibility, yes. And then I spoke with, well, I talked to Lila, and she mentioned about the fact that that you guys pay for the certifications, et cetera. And I talked to Amy about that after, and she said she didn't think that Varsity would have any issue, or the rec, whichever one. But no one would have an issue with like splitting, because it would be beneficial for both cities that way. So I know that they were supposed to have a special meeting to decide for sure if they were opening the pool. And again, since I haven't heard anything more, and have you heard anything?
They haven't spoken to me at all.
Then I would say it's a moot point, and we don't need to worry about it. Because Margaret, to my knowledge, has not heard anything either. But that's what they were wanting to do, is to see if we could share guards. I don't know that any of our guards, A, would be interested, or B, honestly have time to do it. So.
And there's a lot more cost involved than just the certification training.
Yeah.
But I think they're willing to pay for that. I mean, to do a split thing. She didn't seem to think that would be an issue, because it would be beneficial, for both to be able to have access to. And I know that they talked about raising, because I don't know what the wages are, but I know that they talked about raising the wages to match whatever the kids were making here, or to at least make it so that they would have. But as I said, a couple, I just kind of felt, I didn't say, do you want to go work over there? I just kind of generally was asking about things like that. And the two or three that I threw it out at were like, no. So, and honestly, I wouldn't want to. If I were 15 or whatever, I mean.
On renting the pool, I think we had some concerns about that.
And you get into liability issues, you get into them not being city employees.
But that would be, I think, J.R. and I talked about that, and Larry and I a little bit, that if they truly wanted to offer lessons, if we hired Morgan to be an employee of the city and offered, she could then teach lessons. But
and I
if you can find time to do it.
Right, and I did mention that when I talked to Morgan the first time. I said you probably would need to, as we talked about it more, I said you'll probably need to become a city employee, and that really the only time we could do July mornings, because our swim lessons end like the 2nd of July.
And right now we're only licensed for 75 kids, and that Margaret's maxed that out. So if we did that, we would just have to purchase additional license to be able to teach additional kids.
And is that request still in place, or is that just something she's exploring?
Morgan?
Yes.
No, Morgan's not talked to me again. And when I talked to Amy about it the other day, she acted like they were going to be able. They were either opening the pool or it was being dropped. So I don't think. Like I said, I think it's kind of a moot point right now, but.
I guess the only comment would be is if the employees of the city would become interested in that and be certified, one would be sharing cost, if that was to be the case for the certification and the cost associated. Secondly, I would think that being we went to all the trouble to interview, hire, certify, and are just being reimbursed, that would be second to a schedule here.
Yeah, right,
If
right, and
you get
I
one or
mean,
two of your employees who decide they want to do that, that should be a no time cost to this facility.
right,
Would
and
be-
I did, yes.
Sure.
Amy and Amy said, even, she's the one who brought that up, that, we would not ask them to, I said, good, because I don't know them, so.
Well, I think, like Lila was saying, I think swim lessons would have to be run through here as well.
Yeah,
Same
which means we would have to
process.
run through the exact same thing with the city's pay for the lessons by the individuals. She would just be an employee at that price. I don't know how they do it, but it would have to just be done just as a mirror of whatnot, just keep it fair and correct.
Covers right there for no time.
But in June, there's
Busy schedule there.
there's no openings in June.
Anybody have any questions? I kind of like when I just sit back and... So thank you.
I do
Thanks,
have
Kelly.
one other thing to talk about under, pool report's a good place to talk about the
Okay.
hiring practices that we currently do, and I would like the council to think about and consider maybe changing what we do. Ever since I've been here, and Jen says for years, even before that, the process has been when we hire these guards, the day that they do their training is their first day of employment. It wasn't such a big deal when we had training locally here, but it's a huge expense. They're employees, and so they get paid their salary for the time that they're spent training. We pay for their training. We pay for mileage to go to Colby, and we pay for meals, because that's what we do for any of our employees that travel for training. We asked the guards to carpool. Some of them did, some of them didn't. So, that's $150 for mileage for one person to go. It's a pretty good bonus for some of the kids when they figured that out.
See, and I need to talk to Bruce, because I don't remember that back in the day. I remember you paid to get to the training. And granted, it was probably here in St. Francis. But you paid to get to the training. The city would pick up the cost of the books and the materials. But I don't remember ever paying for the whole thing outright.
I put it out on the clerk link in a lot of pools. The kids get their own certification, and then if they complete their year or the season, then they get reimbursed for their certification, because there's nothing to stop someone from getting a certification going to another pool. They wouldn't necessarily around here, but they could. Bird City's a good example. It's just pretty costly. This year it was about $4,700 for the certification, for the mileage and the meals, and for the wages while they were trained. And that's pretty significant. But
How
actually,
much is the certification itself?
$180 per guard.
Per guard.
And that includes the books.
Was that even the research, though?
Yes, they're all the
Yeah.
same.
Yeah, and if,
He's flat across the board that way?
if I could, or someone, I looked into becoming certified to certified. And due to COVID, I did not get it done, but it also is not as accessible. Like when I was a guard in a WSI, I went to Colby to get my WSI, and you could then, by having that, so like what Margaret has, you could certify guards, because that was, at that time, that was your last level of swim lessons. And it's not that way now. You have to have a special certification to be able to certify guards. And I know when I talked to Egan about it before, he got, I think it was California that he had to go to get certified.
Now, I did call the Red Cross, and they said that there's some along the Front Range, but that was the closest.
Well, and I looked in Denver. I did look in Denver, and I would have to be employed by, like, when I called the Denver Parks and Rec, I would have to be employed by Denver Parks and Rec, which I was going to do, and just because at that time I was going back and forth to do massages, and so I was just gonna say, put me in at one of your pools on a, like Saturday or Sunday when I'm there, because they just said you need to work like 4 hours a month. So I thought, I can do that, and if I get tired of it, then I'll just reimburse, but they won't just, I can't pay them to do it.
But there was one. Wasn't
Okay.
Denver, but it was, I want to say Loveland or
Okay.
Fort
Well, I
Collins.
probably missed it.
But it's not an easy thing. It's like a week-long
Yeah, it's a
training.
week-long training.
Probably costly as well.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But if I could get certified or could find someone who could get certified, and we would be able to, because ideally, I mean, that was my thought, was ideally I could get certified and then like like this week or last week, we could certify guards, and then that would cut out a huge amount of the expense.
The city should certainly be in a position of reimbursing her if she was to get that at that cost, because of the savings on certified guards, I think.
Well, maybe we need to keep this in mind and be looking at it before we get too far into next year. On how we're going to treat the new kids that we're hiring, and if Kelly or somebody could get certified would be fantastic, and see what it would cost to get that done. So,
I mean, I can look into that. I do remember the kids, and I guess probably was because they were certified here, because there were some of the kids last year who made the comment that, well, it'd be the ones who got recertified this year, because they made the comment that they didn't get paid for getting their certifications.
Oh,
They said.
yeah, they did. Everybody,
Well,
if they traveled, they got
they
money.
didn't, so.
Well,
they
then,
were here.
they got paid their salary, their wages for
They
working.
didn't think they did.
Oh, yes,
So-
they did.
And I
Because they're
I'm
employees.
not, I don't know what it was, I'm not arguing about it, I just mean,
Well, they did.
because they were like, well, how come you guys got paid for it?
They made me thinking about the mileage, though, because last year you took them all, and you had the mileage. You got the mileage to drive. You just took them all.
Yeah.
So it probably would make just sense not to make them not employees until, like you guys say, they have to pass the
We
certification.
need to
Now
readdress
they're
how
an
we're
employee.
approaching that.
and maybe we could pay, if it's $180, it might be $200 next year. We pay half, and then the other half in the summer.
Reimburse.
That way, we give them, pay for half of it up front, the other half at the end of the summer, when they're done.
Yeah, it'd be like an incentive.
Yeah.
We're gonna have less kids recertifying next year. Right? No, we're not.
Well, there won't be as many
As many,
certified.
that's right.
Yeah, there won't be as many, because the recertifications will just be, there'll be 5 or 6.
Every 2 years.
They'll be recertified, yeah.
There's some things we'll address with the pool board. Bob's talked about, Kelly's talked about, some of the other, and we can try to find two things a little bit.
Yeah.
This year was an expensive year, because we had a lot.
Yeah.
We just had a lot.
But a lot of the expenses, again, can be
Yeah,
reduced significantly if we
and
change how we do it.
And I probably should have maybe just said, I'll drive you, and I didn't, because I mean, I would have totally done that, but I didn't know if I could get, I don't know, maybe to go all of them either.
The county transportation.
Yeah, we'll give her the day.
We could have done that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you.
Talk to me.
Call me or text me if you need something. Appreciate it.
Do you hear a motion to accept the pool?
Second.
Moved by David, second by Amanda, all in favor? Approved. Building permits.
Coming around, the first one that's coming up is not approved yet, that's pending my approval tomorrow.
Sarah, there's another one in your basket. There was one in your basket. Did you get it tonight?
Any issues with
traveling time, they electric grids, and they truck them, yeah. 14 grand a week.
There's a sticky note that they're sitting to me. During schools are relevant information. Is it fun? Is it profane?
It's like, that's just grade school, you're passing me notes.
I was like, what the?
Well, you're a major corporation, so
Will be in town June 1 and 2.
That's just
my
really
sticky
fun.
note. I picked it up from somebody else.
I don't know.
I thought that was weird.
Yeah. Some mine.
Not my writing.
What's it say?
Will be in town June 1 and 2.
Oh, no, that's on that one building permit. That's my handwriting.
That was the first one. It just, okay, it ended up on the back of a different one.
Yeah.
And that's the guy I mean, more of the dependent.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
That is your sticky note.
It is my sticky note. I just didn't write it.
Okay, do I hear a motion to approve the building permit pending the one approval? Moved by Cale, second by Larry, all in favor? Approved. Superintendent report?
So the pool is due for painting this fall after closing, so I'm working on getting bids on that now while there's people available to it. It's not in real bad shape, but that's a matter of keeping it on a cycle so we don't run into problems. The black on it is bad, noticeably from that previous painter. The previous painter will not be bidding on it. That's the one we had trouble with where there was trouble.
That's why it's got to be repainted?
What? The black? No. It's just on a schedule of weathering that if you don't get it repainted, you don't wait till it peels, is what I'm saying. It's a 4-year cycle that it needs to be painted as general maintenance. I think on the 4th coat it's stripped, if I remember right, but this would be the first repainting of it. The last one was the touch-up in black and that stuff, so anyway, we'll be working on bids for that. The security cameras for the recycle center, Next Tech, is putting together a proposal for the city for the park area. I just went ahead and had them kind of cover the whole area, the trailer park area, from a distance, because we're going to hopefully have a system there anyway. The recycle center, and then possibly linking it to a security system, a little more robust one at the power plant. It may be more than what we want to take on as a total project, but while I have the guy in town and you can network these things and make a single system, I just wanted to cover everything that the city needs. So hopefully I'll come back to the next meeting with that. I mentioned that McCormick excavation is going to start in June. We did last night have several outages from the storm, just an extreme storm. There wasn't any complete failures, and then we had 2 outages today based on stuff that happened overnight with the storm. So, yeah, there wasn't any major breakdowns in it. It was mostly phase slapping from high winds. Weed letters, as was mentioned earlier, that's going to be a mess this year. The good thing is we have a lot less properties that are not lived in. You know, honestly, it's probably actually going to be a little better. The problem is it's growing a lot, and it's going to be a rough year as far as that's concerned. I'll start those next week. The McCoy property, I mentioned that as far as cleanup, and I'll look at those other ones as well. Utility comparison, I haven't gotten to that. I do have all of the information from the other cities. I have to work with Jen to get our refuse rates cleaned up. That's a mess. It's the same rate system we used when we run our own trash service 5 days a week, and there's too many different rates. I've got to clean that up before we can just raise the amount, because there's all these, we just need to streamline the way we bill the trash before I can complete that. I had a Teams meeting with Sunflower, Corey Linville, Erica Valerio, and Kirk Gerard of Prairie Land in reference to the weather event and how the city's to be paid for that generation. They had originally proposed just paying the city as if we had accredited generation, which we do not. We have emergency, and just giving us basically our labor and fuel costs and whatever maintenance on the engines. That was $15,880. I had contended all along that we actually replace that energy. We can't produce it and then be charged for it. So in this discussion, they came back with, one, they wanted to address the emergency generation in the contract, which I totally disagree with. It's ours. It's not to be called on by anybody but us. So that is part of the discussion, is that it can't happen again. In other words, we can't be called on. It shouldn't even be known it exists. If our lights are out, we can turn it on, but that's the only time it gets used. So they're going to check with SPP, which is the one that forced us to generate and put us in this situation anyway, because we refused to generate to Sunflower, but SPP forced us to do so. So one of the requirements of settling for the amount they're offering is that we own our own generation. If they was to call on us, we could set a price at that point, instead of utilizing all these resources and then it costing us money, essentially, is what happened, and we would have never generated knowing that's all we was going to get out of it if we had a choice. And as long as SPP takes us off the roster, which we shouldn't have been on there anyway, then we're in a position of, hey, we want you to generate. It's like, okay, let's talk price instead of you must. So we can clear that up. How we concluded to deal with how the city's to be paid for that, and I had contended this all along, that the event was only 10 days long, and that's where all the expensive power was. That's true. They don't bill it that way. It's averaged throughout the month. And what they come back with is if they took the average cost, in other words, the per megawatt hour cost of the month, which is how they bill, and just subtracted the 62 megawatt hours that we produced, then it's 19,823. So that is a subtraction of what we actually produced. Again, we would not have generated for that if we'd have been given the choice, but that shouldn't ever happen again. If we get these other things taken care of, I told them I don't agree with it. I don't think it's enough. We're not being compensated properly for what we did, but under the circumstances where you're not reviewing a contract, it should have never been part of it. If we can clear it up so it does not arise again, I think that's a fair way to be compensated for it in these circumstances, not going forward. It just won't happen that way again, if that's the case. So I would actually say I want to hear back from them that SPP has taken us off before we would do this, because that's the trigger point that got us in trouble in this, because we wouldn't have generated it. We just simply would not have unless the lights went out. So it cost us money, took resources away. It just didn't work. So
bottom line, they're looking at the possibility of
19.8.
That will be returned to us.
Yes.
And I'm in agreement with you. I think it should have been more, but I certainly feel like we're in a better position. A lot of our surrounding communities are.
Correct.
And I was very clear that I don't think it's fair compensation because it was the 10-day window that we generated in. But they don't bill that way. They don't bill by the hour. If we was billed by the hour, we'd pay more throughout the year. I mean, there's sense to be made for take the lumps on the situation, move forward knowing it can't happen again. That's where I'm at. As long as we don't get put in that position again, we settle for this, because we would be in a position that if they ask for support on the system and ask us to generate, where there's no provision in the contract, that's where you would agree at what the rate is. And it would never be less than at least 5 times the amount we're being reimbursed.
So what was the going rate when we were generating?
When we was generating?
Yeah.
Well, because they took that 10-day amount
Yeah.
and averaged it over, I think it was $300 per, it'd be, just do the math backwards, it'd be $300 because we did 62 megawatt hours, 19,000.
So when was the price so high that gave us the $200,000 bill?
So in the 10-day period, it went as high as $7,000 per hour. They pay the hourly rate. Then at the end of the month, they have this $7,000 a megawatt hour price, but they also have a $20 a megawatt hour
So
price,
they
which
average
would be the normal going rate. And when you average that through the 30-day period, it comes out to $300.
So during that, was it 68 hours you said?
Mhm.
Generated. During those periods, the price was only 300, or was it up to 7,000?
Oh, no, it was at that. See, that's how their billing averages out. So essentially, we're being credited on our bill as if we generated during that period.
Yeah.
Although it was hourly that amount, you reimbursed by the monthly average, because that's how they bill it. It's, again, I was
So
clear.
since we're our own animal,
What's that?
since we're our own generating, we're independent, I feel like next time we charge them back. If they want us to
Absolutely. That's the
generate
position we're in.
At not the average rate, at
Right.
the going rate for that time.
So when they call us, if we don't have the
7,000 an
resources,
hour.
which we didn't, I mean,
Right.
in that event, we was doing other emergency work,
Right.
and we didn't have resources because we was running engines. Even at a great price, we wouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
Under those cold circumstances, we were ordered to do so
Right.
by federal.
So in the event that the next time happens and we get that call, you're able to negotiate, yes or no?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It is, we will do it for this, and if it's not at that
Perfect.
price, then we simply don't start it. It's not to be part, you can't make something that's hours and hours alone part of a contract that they can
Yeah.
use.
Right.
That's where it got messed up, because we used to be accredited, but we are not now. So, I don't know what our fight is on that, because if we'd actually fight for the hourly reimbursement rate, you're almost asking for a higher annual bill, because that's the averaging that helps us out, is being balled in with all these other communities where you average it out, and the price is lower for everybody. So the argument is there. It doesn't mean we didn't not come out on this on a good deal. I mean, it's better than the initial offer they had, but I don't find a good argument for more, other than getting us in the position of it never happening.
Yeah.
So what was it, 240,000?
Yeah, it was the ECA was 230 something, wasn't it? The
Yeah.
actual adjustment, and then the other bill part. So yeah,
So basically, we're getting almost 20 grand back off of that. Is that the right way to look at it?
Mm.
yeah.
I don't, like JR said, I don't think we've got much choice
No.
to do that, but at least we got leverage now, as long as they come back and say that we can tell them what we're going to charge if we start our generators up.
And I was really clear about that. You know, we would not be in the position of, if we had the resources and the price is right, our engines are there, that would be a situation where we could talk about it. But you ask, you can't tell.
Right.
That's why I don't want it in the contract. Because, again, I don't know if we would have done it for 4 times that amount under those circumstances, with that
Right.
weather, with what we was trying to deal with. I don't think we would have done it for a lot more, honestly, by choice, and next time we'll have that choice. So I'll come back with that, making sure we're clear of SPP, and then make the recommendation on this, but that was our conversation as far as that building. I'm going to attend the county commissioner meeting on the 28th to discuss utilizing the county weed department for, I mean, this year kind of set it in motion, but more so they have the equipment for the large dryland areas that we try to deal with. You know, our priority is always the small parks. We have small equipment. They have large booms. They can literally go through the islands in less than an hour, and that's a 6 or 8 hour thing for us because of the equipment sizing. We don't need that big equipment anywhere else. They have it. The price he's talking about that is just a few $100s a year to cover the frontage road, the islands, the dry land down by the, no, we have to go over this. I have to meet with him yet, so don't hold me to the few $100s, but it's not much. And he can run these things because that's all he does. He's not trying to mow and clean up and do all these other things. He can stay on top of it too. So I'm going there looking for some kind of an agreement. DJ has asked about this before, about doing this, and at that time we had just acquired him. The commissioners decided not to do it. I would aim to convince them to allow us to hire the weed department to do our dry land areas.
Plan on the islands, roadside park, where else?
So roadside, the camper park,
Right.
the frontage, islands, and then the lot down there, and possibly we mow all that along the railroad tracks there. I think it's actually a railroad right-of-way, probably owned by the railroad, which will never do anything, so most likely those areas. If they're willing and the price is reasonable, I can't imagine you're not going to say I can go ahead with them and not wait 2 weeks if they have the capability to get to the islands. I mean, we simply can't get it done most of the time, and when,
Yeah, it sounds like it'd be cheaper going that way because, like you say, where he can put out the boom on that pickup and drive along there and he's got it done.
I used him for a couple things when I was working in town, and it's significant cost savings.
So, anyway, I'll be going and asking, and like I said, if it's reasonable, I'd rather just come back to the council with what we agreed on, and hey, if they have the time between now and then to go ahead and do that work, because we need to.
Does our highway lot up there need anything?
What's that?
The highway lot?
Oh, where the Empire, is that?
Yeah, I guess I don't know why we wouldn't.
Yeah,
That's a
it'd be
good thought.
easier for him just to go in there.
Yeah, hadn't even thought about
Yeah.
that. Yeah, because we mow it, we have to
Yeah.
mow it, and we might as well, I don't know if there's any grass there. Not sure what, we don't want it, in case we turn on dry and windy, we don't want dirt.
Yeah, we don't want dirt.
We might want to be careful about that.
Yeah.
It might be a ground cover situation unless we're going to actually seed it.
Yeah.
Good thought, though. Yeah, okay. That's all I have, other than I was going to talk to Ward about that bonding. I was going to mention that earlier. I'll just give them a call on that. Make sure we're squared away for this work prior to doing it.
Did you find your help for the recycle?
I'm not. I've had 2 people, one apply and 2 have called me, so I'm going to talk to one of the individuals tomorrow. So,
And are you just advertising for one position?
Yeah.
Just one, not 2? Why not 2? Why not 2? Well,
I just put it out there that we're looking for.
I'm just asking, yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Because I know what you're up against with like Keller Pond recycling.
Right. And I guess that's important to note too on the Keller Pond. Larry and I have talked about this. We're going to take just the work, the city's obligation directly out of the contract, put it in front of people who have the insurance and ability to do that work, and make sure we describe the exact same work and see if we can't get a bid, essentially, to take care of like Keller Pond. So I've talked to 2 people who have the ability to do that, and I'm going to meet with those hopefully this week. There's a 3rd one that I'm going to talk to as well. So we didn't get any responses when we advertised for that. That's why I'm now going to them and trying to get them to provide a proposal to take care of that work, which would definitely be a move in the right direction as far as maintenance as well.
Yeah, hope we can find somebody.
And that's all I have.
Okay, do I hear a motion to accept and file the superintendent report?
So moved.
Moved by Dara, second by Cale, all in favor. Approved. Attorney report, Ron?
Attached here too, you have the commercial lease agreement for, the commercial lease agreement, oh, sorry, my computer screen just did something. You have the commercial lease agreement for the old police department area with the Cheyenne County, Kansas Community Foundation. The changes that have been made to this document, obviously the dates have been updated. CCKCF needs, after their name, to have the disclaimer and affiliate of the Greater Northwest Kansas Community Foundation, so that's been done in Article 1. The term of the lease starts June 1 and runs until December 31st. We discussed doing this at the end of the year, and then perhaps at the end of the year, if it's working, if we need to make modifications, we can, and then, but at our end of the year meeting, if everything's working, we can renew the lease for a 1-year period or a longer period as necessary. The rental payment has been changed to be $300 payable on the first day of each month. There is a change under payment of expenses. The owner is paying for electricity, gas, water, sewer, and trash removal, which is to be included in the tenant's monthly rent. However, they are responsible for telephone and internet services, and they are required to provide payment directly to those service providers. Those are the only substantive changes that have been made to the document since the last time it was presented to the council. Are there any questions on the document?
Does the insurance, I'm trying to find it here, but it has the liability, the renter's liability insurance.
Tenant shall be responsible for insuring the tenant's property located on the leased property. Is that what you're...
No, they were supposed to get liability insurance of their own.
Okay.
Just a renter's general liability policy.
I will add that in. I have a VPN, so I'm remoting into my server right now, and I will make that change immediately and then email it to the full council for their review. I will press on while we do this. I had spoken with Cody today, as I previously said. He had mentioned that he had been contacted regarding the number of calls that he's been doing for St. Francis and what's been coming through municipal court versus what's been coming through district court. And he had asked for feedback on was he supposed to be sending more things through municipal court, waiting for feedback, and he's not here today. I guess I am relating that on his behalf. My understanding in speaking with Cody is that when there was a police department and a sheriff's office, and there were two separate entities, the things that the police department handled, unless they were severely escalated, came through municipal court, whereas the things that the sheriff's office handled went through district court. And so there was a division of what was going where. The sheriff's office has been taking things that the former St. Francis Police Department would otherwise have run through municipal court and been running it through district court because district court has a bit more teeth. We have a domestic battery from several years ago that there's an outstanding warrant for. They never showed up for their first appearance, but domestic battery was run through municipal court. The sheriff's office has been taking things like that and running it through district court just because it has a bit more teeth and they feel like the prosecution in the district court is more appropriate for an avenue like that. I will point out that's also a cost savings to the city because if I have to litigate a domestic battery, I am not a salaried employee, whereas Leslie Bynes is a salaried employee, and so they've been running it through the district court. I think he's been doing this as, one, a deterrent because, like I said, there's a bit more bite in district court than municipal court, and two, I think he is trying to be mindful of costs to the city, and so he didn't know if there was something that we need to correspond on another matter, so we were going to get back together, but he just wanted me to ask if there's anything that needs to be relayed to him.
I will say that he shared, I didn't realize you were going to talk about this, but no, that's okay. He shared some documents that he wanted the council to have for review. There's another folder out there for next month's council meeting, and that's where they are, so that you would have plenty of time to look at them before he's going to be at the next meeting. So he's got some statistics, the district court statistics that she's talking about for you to look at. So it's out there.
I visited with Cody. We asked him to come to this meeting. He's going to be out of town, so we scheduled it for the first meeting in June, just to discuss how are things going and how could it work better for us, for him. So he is going to come to the next meeting, and that way we can kind of discuss how's it working, can we improve it, what can we do to improve it.
Perfect. We had just spoken today, I don't want to say at length, but more than just a quick blurb about it, so I said I would check, and he said he would be here next month, but he would appreciate any feedback. And so I said I would ask, but we'll discuss that more next month. I need... Larry Zweigert, municipal court was postponed on last Wednesday because of Jim Milliken's funeral. Both Judge Keller and I were attending. Has Larry Zweigert completed his property cleanup?
He's not. I was actually on a separate maintenance matter. We was going to the city or into the first occupying the property to assure that we could done prior to the next court date. It is not done at this point.
Okay. It is set for June 24th at 1:30, if you would put that on your calendar, because it is set for, I believe it is set for bench trial rather than status hearing, and so I will need a witness. I mean, I'll need somebody to testify, and as that, if you're the one who made the report, I need you.
I was here with pictures in hand. I was not notified.
Oh, I am so sorry.
Yeah, we were ready, but that's okay. We'll do that. For the next court date.
My apologies, JR.
Mine too.
I still haven't been able to verify service on Tommy Paulson. I can't move forward until we get service on Tommy Paulson.
That was the 23rd.
24.
That's a Thursday.
Yes, we had to move it because of Judge Keller had a conflict, and then I had a conflict with the day that we moved it to, and then it's been moved 3 times.
I just wanted to make sure that's not the usual days.
It is not the usual day, but it is the 24th. I need 5 minutes of executive session to discuss personnel matter for non-elected personnel. I guess I would ask, I'm having an issue at the moment of getting into my server. I will work on that while we finish up the council meeting. I guess if it's agreeable to the council, I will add in the term there, but the tenant shall be responsible for a general liability insurance as well. With that modification, I would ask that the council approve the rental agreement. I have my notary stamp to notarize the mayor's signature if it gets approved.
Okay. So I hear a motion to approve that. It's been moved by David, second by Amanda. All in favor? Approved.
Non-elected personnel matter, or personnel issue.
Okay, do I hear a motion to accept and file the attorney report? Moved by Amanda, second by Larry, all in favor. Approved clerk report.
The first order of business, and it's out there, and Scott, you should have a hard copy there for you to sign. The food pantry has submitted receipts totaling $17,138.89 for reimbursement from the CDBG funds. There is remaining $3,000 in those funds that were to go to Northwest Kansas Planning and Development, and Justine is requesting $1,500 of that now. There will be one more drawdown after this one for the balance of those funds, $1,500 for Northwest Kansas Planning and Development, and the balance to the food pantry at that time should be $1,984.38. So for tonight, in order to refund the food pantry, I need to request a motion and a vote to approve drawdown number 4 for the 20-CV-116 project in the amount of $18,638.89.
Okay, do I hear a motion?
That's all going where?
I'm sorry, what?
That's all going where?
This is the food pantry. This is those grant funds we got last year that were given to the businesses, and then there was that $35,000 for food. And the food pantry has been bringing in the receipts. We had until July to use those funds.
Okay, it's been moved by Amanda, second by Cale. We need to vote on it. David? Yes. Cale? Amanda? Sarah?
Yes.
Larry? Yes. Okay, it's passed.
The instructor that did our lifeguard certifications would not submit those until he received payment, so we obviously couldn't wait till June to pay him, so I called the mayor and he authorized us to make an out-of-cycle payment to him to pay for those certification costs. It was in these checks that are being signed tonight. I just needed in the minutes that that was authorized and that the council approves of that. That was an out-of-cycle check, okay?
We didn't have any choice.
We really didn't. So next time we will know that he needs payment at the time that he's giving the training. And then the mayor has also requested that we make an out-of-cycle payment to the lighthouse for $4,350 for the work that they've done at the roadside park bathrooms. That check was also in these that we cut today. So I would just like a motion to approve that one.
So it's been moved by Cale. Second by Amanda. All in favor? Approved.
The Shuttered Venue Operators Grant is nearly ready to submit. There's a document I'm waiting on from the IRS that certifies our exempt status. I guess just being a city doesn't prove it, so I had to get that documented. As soon as I get it, I will submit that application. So that's where we're at with that. Out on the share is a list of current peddlers licenses. We've had a lot come in with the roofers and stuff, and that is the current list of those that are background checks have passed and they've paid their fees, and so if you see those guys out, they can be out. Snow cone folks, what do they call tropical snow? They've got theirs this year, and then the ice cream truck's got one, but they haven't come to pick it up yet. But they got paid for it.
Why would that daily Fred? Is he coming over here doing something?
He is going to be, it's kind of like Schwann's, is what he's proposing to do. It would be kind of like the Schwann man used to do. And he just wanted to get that to make sure that he was to do what he wanted to do.
He's advertised, but I wasn't for sure what.
Yeah, I didn't know what he was doing.
That's kind of what it is, wholesale foods, or... But he described it as like what the Schwann's person used to do. Yes. Yeah. And then the transient merchant on the bottom is a couple of people you've probably seen them set up shop up on the highway to do dent repair. Since they're just a temporary business, they needed that transient merchant license. That's what that is. Amy Garfield brought in 100% of the required signatures for her variance request at 404 Parkway for the daycare, so she's good to go. Helen Dobbs has asked if the council would approve spending $1,071.20 plus shipping from our guest tax fund to purchase additional Cherry Creek encampment brochures. She gave me one if you want to pass it around. She's running very, very low on those for some reason. And
well, that means they're going out, so that's good.
Yeah.
So do I hear a motion to approve the purchase of more of these little brochures, or flyers, whatever we're going to call them? Moved by Amanda, second by Cale. All in favor? Approved.
She also, the Highway 36 publications there for everybody, and she brought those. I haven't received any new updates on the American Rescue Plan, so I don't really know where we're going with that, but haven't received the money either. LMI surveys went out in the mail today. Thanks to Amanda, Scott, and Vera for helping fold those. It was quite a job. I did put a deadline on it of June 10th. That will give people about 2 weeks to respond after they get them. I will note that in the letter that goes out with it, I did talk about the street project and that it was previous funding is funding the major street project that's to begin in July, so that it is mentioned in those letters that everybody will be getting. And when we don't, the ones that we don't hear back from, we'll probably have to do it again. I'll be reaching out to
What do you
others.
do about people that don't actually live here?
But they don't. It's only the occupied houses. So you would be amazed at the number of houses that are unoccupied or weekend only, and we don't survey those because they're not really residents. They're just, we will survey the nursing home up here. I'm supposed to meet tomorrow with Daphne, I think her name is. But it is just occupied homes in the city. So we did our best to make sure we were hitting everybody. So please encourage people to respond. Start working with Angela on the budget, and we'll probably, just a heads up, we'll need to schedule a budget workshop probably the last week of June instead of in July like we used to do, so we can make that July 15th deadline. And so be giving that some thought if there's anything that you are thinking about that you need to look at and consider. Maybe take your budget books and look at this year's budget. We have some CDs that are coming up for renewal. We don't have very many now. We have 3 at Western State Bank, and we have 1 at First National. The 3 at Western State are $100,000, $10,000, and $7,000, and they will renew at a rate of 0.45, which is pretty good when you look at the rate that First National has is 0.01. So, you know, the First National CD is $25,000. It's not great, but, you know, we pulled all of our other money out. It's just sitting there ready to be spent, but it's whatever you guys want to do.
I don't want to pull it out of First National, but Western.
That's what I was thinking.
I mean, we used to try to keep some at each bank, but it's to the point anymore. I mean, we're looking after taxpayers' money. We need to try to get the best we can.
That is such a huge difference.
And it's terrible that it's only that. But
Do the CDs count on their federal guarantee, FDIC?
Yes.
It does.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing that
Yeah, but we'd still be under that over
Sure.
at Western.
But that's the only reason not would cause pause to have too much in the
Right.
funds.
Yeah.
Right.
Actually, I think it would be a violation if it was to exceed that, doesn't
Yes.
it? Yeah.
Yeah, we cannot allow that to happen. Yeah.
As we're not at risk, I would point out just, it sounds like we're going that way anyways, with the public purpose doctrine, that I would be concerned if it's going to be that much of a difference as to, like Mayor Schultz said, protect the taxpayer money.
Right.
And so I would posit that we almost have a duty to do so.
Yeah. It used to, they were all pretty competitive, but it don't seem like it anymore.
And none of them are very high.
Yeah. And it's still not going to generate very much interest, even at that on 25,000. But it's, so we need a motion to do that, to take the First National 25,000, right?
Yes.
And we'll invest it at the Western State Bank.
Second.
Been moved by David, second by Cale, all in favor? Approved.
And then a motion to approve those other ones, or renew the other ones that we currently
Do I
have.
hear a motion to renew the other ones at Western State Bank?
Or second.
Moved by Larry, second by Cale, all in favor? Approved.
Okay. That's all I have.
Okay, do I hear a motion to accept and file the clerk report? Seconded by Amanda, seconded by who? Derek? All in favor? Okay. Move on to council comments. David?
A couple of quick things. Unfortunately, I will not be here for the first meeting in June. I'll have to miss that meeting, so I just want to make sure everyone knows. And then also, we've been on the CCDC board as well. Just wanted to kind of put it out there and ask you guys. I was already talking to Hale, but we have Fernando on our board. He's with a grocery store, and he said he cannot find anyone to take a job. And then we also have, we have Bernard Erskine on the board. And they're going to have to shut down a couple days a week because they can't find anyone.
It's all over town. There's probably at least...
I never thought I'd see it here in St. Francis, but are y'all having is it everyone?
Yep, it's everyone.
Okay.
And Lighthouse he's been trying to hire someone for the last, I've been working for him just to help him out, and he can't get anybody.
I'll tell this.
I can come out to the coffee shop. You might not want me in there. I'm pretty crude. But it's sad because it's everywhere in the county. Everybody's looking for help and it's because of this government.
A lot of
stuff.
people not working.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm telling Cal, there's a trucking company in Texas who moves huge electrical equipment, and they're starting the drivers out at $14,000 a week, not a month, a week. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's going to drive. They said it's driving inflation up now.
Oh, yeah.
Look out. So,
Good point, though.
yeah, it's not good. Like you said, you would never thought it would be here in our little city or county, but it is. They're in over.
That's all I have.
Okay, well,
I don't think I have anything.
Amanda.
I just wanted to request 10 minutes of the executive session for non-elected personnel or job duties and performance.
Okay. Derek? Larry?
Potholes.
Anything else?
Anything else? Literally anything.
We'll probably do the crossover.
I still want to entertain the idea of doing just one and see what happens.
Let's wait till we hear back from her on whether we own it or not.
College, that one.
I mean, that the state owns it.
Yeah, because if we do that, because
I
that's
know.
what they're saying is that we've taken it over.
I know.
We have not taken it over. We've been doing a lot of their work.
We'll do our little drive-by
Yeah.
to try to make them safe.
Yeah,
That's
make them
really
safe.
all.
Speaking of, I was talking to DJ this afternoon, and he said something about talking with Jeff Stewart on the state right-of-way.
No!
But, no, just about that about this, because they've told DJ not to spray, like, anything, and that he told DJ that we actually have an agreement. The city and the state have an agreement that the city is, I'm like, nope. I'm pretty sure that agreement was a letter the state sent saying, we're no longer taking care of it.
It was initiated by us sending a letter saying the islands look bad, clean up your property. And then that's when they said they was going to seed it and no longer maintain it. And there was no
Well, they
written
maintained it
agreement.
for a little while after it was seeded, but they just kept going from this step to this step to this step, trying to just unload it on us.
But, yeah, supposedly he's claiming that there's an actual agreement.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there was just a letter straight. We're not doing it. So.
Okay. Okay, well, I guess we'll, nothing else there, so I guess we'll go ahead and do Lauren's first, executive session.
I need council, mayor, and me. That's it.
Okay.
I'll sell it to later.
Okay, sounds good. Have a good evening.
Thank
See ya.
Thanks, Jeff.
What did you say the subject was? I'm sorry.
Non-elected personnel issue.
Okay.
Get the quote.
I
Find out what it's gonna cost.
that
Yeah.
agreement, so if you want
We'll take those
to check
CDs,
on
we
it,
want them.
it'll be ready for
Yeah,
signing.
but I don't think we
Perfect.
can do it.
Perfect.
That'd be when the time comes.
When the time comes, yeah, well, there might be the time comes, we have to.
Okay.
It is embarrassing, isn't
It's,
it? It is. It's bad.
Okay, did somebody make a motion for this 5 minutes?
9:02.
It's 9:02, so it'd be 9:07 coming out.
I'll make a
Well,
motion
you
to
have
go
to-
into executive session with just the mayor, council, and Lauren for non-elected personnel, employee
Personnel issue.
Personnel issue for 5 minutes to resume at 9:07.
Amanda,
Here, second?
Second.
Second by Cale. Okay.
hold on. Okay.
Okay, do I hear a motion to go into executive session for 10 minutes?
I'll make that motion to go into executive session for 10 minutes with just the mayor and council for non-elected personnel for employee job duties and performance to come out at 9:20.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Larry. Pointing fingers at each other.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was at 9:10, sorry. Okay.
Okay. Do I hear a motion for adjournment?
I think we need to state whether or not a decision was reached in either.
No decision, no decision.
Okay.
And not on these.
On either one.
Okay.
On neither executive session. No-
Thank you.
No decisions were made.
I'm already up.
We need to
And-
sign all those
Okay,
documents.
You're already out.
Oh,
I'm getting
okay.
my pen out.
Oh, okay,
Larry and Amanda.
okay.
Just Scott, you and I, right?
Yes.
Scott, this is the commercial lease, if you would sign where indicated. And then Daryl, will you tell Carla to just come on down to my office?